Coach Huseman, could be a dangerous spot, home opener for your visitor. Um, Not one of the top 10 opponents in the nation, FCS wise. I wonder how you view that and if you've sort of taken that approach with your guys.
Well, I think one thing where you didn't want to get a false sense of security is last year's game against them. It was early in the season, and Lehigh got really good at the end of the season. I think they won 3 out of their last 4. Played Holy Cross really well. Close game to the end there. So they really turned it around and played really well at the end of the year. So that part of the message was for our guys is last year meant nothing. They got a different team. We got a different team this year, and going up there, I know they like to play at home, and they do a great job playing at home. But we need to take it as a business trip up there and play hard and play like we're capable of playing. But yeah, they're a different team this year, and I've expressed that to our football team.
Could you assess what Jake Harris has brought so far and perhaps what you're expecting as we move forward?
He's done a real nice job for us. Caught everything that's thrown to him, converted first downs for us. He blocks. Got good leadership qualities. Been really, really pleased with how he's done this year so far.
Sean?
Coach, after 2 games, has the offense looked what you, I guess, would have hoped they would be at this point?
Pretty much, yeah. Again, I think our offense is executing real well. They're converting first downs. We have put together long drives this year and converted first downs on those. You still want to, the only thing that's missing right now is just explosive plays. I mean, and again, we had more explosive plays in the second week than we did the first week. But, somehow, some way we need to throw in a 65-yarder in some capacity. It makes your life a lot easier. But been pleased with where they've been so far this year.
And looking back at the tape on defense, I know you were not 100% pleased with how they played on Saturday, but looking back at it, was there spots on the film that you thought, okay, this is actually a little bit better than what I originally thought after the game?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm probably way too critical on the defense, but they had big stops, a couple key turnovers, same way against Virginia, a couple big turnovers. And we got to grow. Some of our guys, our young guys, our inexperienced guys, have to grow, and the only way they grow is through getting that game experience. And we've come up with some big plays, at certain times in games, especially against St. Francis, the 2 interceptions at the end there to seal it, and then obviously coming out in the second half against Virginia to get us back in the game with a couple turnovers. So. We're making plays. We're probably not as disruptive as I'd like for us to be as far as with sacks and tackles for losses and those types of things. But hopefully that grows and comes together as the season progresses.
You share a word or two on Phil O'Connor, and obviously he had an injury that was sort of scary a couple years ago, and has come back and been very involved since.
I had forgotten all about that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, he's a super player for us. Plays any spot we put him at, whether it's Mike, Will, Sam. He's bright, physical. He and a great teammate. I mean, he's fun to have on the team as a coach, but I know he's a great teammate. That whole linebacker room is incredible. I mean, they're all very similar. They work really, really hard at their profession here, and they're in that room next door all the time. So I'm pleased with that group overall, and I have been for the last 2 or 3 years.
Sure, Jake, when you were at VMI, you told me, us in a Zoom call, that when you were recruited, Army, VMI, that was it. No Lehigh, no Lafayette, none of your area FCS guys came calling?
No, they actually didn't, and in a way, I'm almost glad they didn't. I think everything's worked out very well for me, and I'm happy to be at the spot that I'm at now.
Thinking back, what were the things that they perhaps viewed as negatives that prohibited them from recruiting you?
I mean, I guess my speed in high school, wasn't as quick. Maybe just that ability to get past defenders or whatever they thought. Maybe just size-wise, I was a little in between. I was taller, but I was a little bit leaner, so maybe not knowing where to put me or whatever. But I'm glad that Coach Walk came calling and put me in the position that I was.
Could you speak to your development at VMI? I imagine there was some talk about playing you at tight end because of your height, beefing you up a little bit. How did that go, and how did you sort of settle into a wide receiver at VMI?
Yeah, so when I started there, it was more just the Y position, which is really just like a flex tight end and, a little bit faster of a tight end and stuff like that. But as the years went on, Coach Kosh was actually my receivers coach my first 2 years. And he's just a great coach, and I think he put those building blocks to me becoming what I became. And Coach Ashford took over the second 2 years, and just I think the biggest thing was the ability to play all over the field and have defenses not be able to really realize where I'm at. And so Z, X, H, Y, I can really play anywhere. And I think that was the biggest thing in just growing and learning the game and all the positions to play.
This is as close to home as you're going to get for a while, with 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes. Does that bring pressure? Does that bring joy and jubilation? How do you feel about going up there?
Yeah, I don't think it brings too much pressure. If anything, it just brings a lot of happiness. I have a lot of people coming, a lot of family coming, and just to know that many people support me from home and want to come see me play it's honestly a blessing. And hopefully we could put on a good show for them.
Are you one of those guys? Your numbers speak for themselves over the last 4 years, but hey, let me show Lehigh what they didn't get by not ringing my phone or something. Some guys that will be motivation. How about you?
Yeah, there's really no hard feelings against them. They had to do what they had to do, and it's a business at the end of the day. So no hard feelings. It's just another day for me, and just try to go out there and do my best like I always do.
Hey, Phil, how do you absorb the post-game criticism sometimes Coach Huseman levels against you guys after decent games? They're not horrible games, but like he says, he seems to be uber critical because he's a defensive guy.
Yeah, for sure. Every coach is just, giving constructive criticism, and it's really just about being, mentally tough enough to kind of understand, yes, they're getting on you, yes, you're making mistakes, and they're telling you you're making mistakes. You just got to, be willing to, watch the film, see what they're talking about, listen, and just kind of regroup yourself, and then, make those mistakes and learn from them each and every play. So.
Hey, your story again is interesting because of the cervical sprain, right? So, has it been a bear to get back where you were mentally?
I would say, yeah, it was a big mental challenge for me back in 2019 when it happened. So I missed that whole season, and it was definitely a mental battle for me at first. And then kind of once that spring season came around in 2020, I was able to get a few practices in with full pads and all before COVID hit. And, it was just good to be back out there. You really can't take anything for granted. And just like being able to be back out there for those 5 or 7 days that we had before COVID really kind of allowed me to just get a sense of, love for the game again and being comfortable hitting people. So I really think that it was a mental battle, but, since COVID happened, it kind of gave me a whole extra unexpected year or so to kind of recover and build my neck strength back up and the flexibility and mobility and all that stuff. So.
Are you stabilized in different ways than another linebacker would be?
I definitely have learned new techniques and exercises to kind of strengthen things and that I never would have known or tried before than just a typical, neck machine down in the weight room.
In terms of equipment, you have a roll or anything going on back there?
I do wear that little neck cowboy collar. That was kind of just a sense of security thing at first, and then I kind of just started to really enjoy it and felt that it helped me, so I just kind of stick with it.
And what is the area, or what are the areas that you would really like to see Richmond's defense take a step forward in this week?
Yep. So we've really been talking about just paying attention to the details, and basically just knowing your job and doing your job on every single play. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to, make a big play and get out of your gap or just play someone else's gap. Trust the guy next to you, love the guy next to you, and just play for each other. And basically just lock in on all the details. Coach Wood's been emphasizing that all week. And once we do that, just do your job and know your job, I think we'll be able to play at a higher level and play more fast and physical out there.
Hey, Phil, Xavier went through a pretty scary injury too, different body part, but, pretty significant. Now he's back on the 2 deep. But can you kind of relate to what he went through? Do you talk to him about that, and what are you expecting out of him?
Yep. So Xavier's Xavier, man. He's just different. He's a different guy. He always bounces back. He's a tough kid. His mindset is probably one of the best mindsets I've been around through football. He's just nothing can stop him, and he has a great attitude towards everything. It was a scary injury. It made me emotional, and just kind of seeing him come back because he wasn't here all summer. Seeing him come back in camp, it was just the way he was moving. It looked like typical Xavier, and it was just great to see, and I was so happy for him. And then he finally got some reps last game, and it was just back to normal, hearing him out there communicate, playing, no fear. He has absolutely no fear in everything he does, and it's just tremendous, to see him back out there, and I'm really excited for him and just happy to see what he does this season.
Do you appreciate playing football more, given what you have gone through to get back to this point?
Oh, for sure. I've had a few injuries in my life growing up, but never anything as kind of scary as that. Kind of just was a shock to me. I really didn't even know what was going on when it did happen back in 2019, but it definitely makes you kind of take a step back and just really think about life and, practice. Sometimes you take practice for granted, and it's like, I just want to get through this, get to the off day or this and that and just kind of rest your body. But then once you go through something like that, you kind of really just need to take every practice as, you get limited chances out here. Our coaches have said that a lot. And when you go through something like that, I think you kind of understand that more and have a different view towards it.
Hey, Phil, I know Coach said forget about the Lehigh game from last year. It might be a little more difficult for you. You were just coming back. You had the pick. What do you kind of remember about that moment for you?
Last year, so basically I just saw the formation, and our DB coach, Coach Williams, said something the night before about that formation with a key, and I kind of just saw it happen, and it kind of just the ball was thrown to me and just took off running. But like Coach Huseman said, it's really not last year, and we're not kind of dwelling on that, and whatever happened last year doesn't matter. We are a different team, and we kind of just are trying to focus on us every game because we're kind of forming into our own team and who we want to be and trying to form our own identity. So we're really kind of just trying to focus on us and not really dwell on, whatever the score was last year, because on Saturday that doesn't matter. So
Through 2 games, and this is for both of you, can you speak on what the identity is on both sides of the ball?
Oh, yeah. So I think our identity, we just want to be, known as playing fast, physical, and relentless on every single play and being able to execute at a high level. And we've really been emphasizing really just playing for each other. I mentioned a little earlier, just playing with trust and love, play for the brother next to you, and really just kind of go out there and, put on film that, we got 11 guys out there that are playing for each other and, playing as hard as they possibly can. And you kind of can see the love through the way that they play.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for the offense, going off that talk of loving each other, and I think everybody goes out there just trying to do their job for the other person. I don't think a lot of people, really want the glory like that this year. I think everybody's just doing a good job of, I'll run my route so you could get open and vice versa. And I think just our identity, obviously we like to go fast, but Coach Kosh, he does a great job with the tempo, and when we need to go slow, we need to go slow. But I think just our identity is just, being key on the details and doing what we have to do to put ourselves in the right position.
Phil, will you permit me one more injury question? I'm sorry to harp on this. There would have been a temptation among many people to discontinue involvement in football after something like that. Were you close to that? Did you consider that?
No, I never considered it. I was just kind of worried about the hesitation of hitting again, but I wasn't concerned or worried about quitting football at all at that point. It did take a little while longer to heal than they initially expected, but my strength and all kind of felt there. And really the guys around me, like Coach Huseman mentioned, our linebacker room, those guys, I've grown very close to them, and we kind of just have built a strong bond, and it never kind of crossed my mind that I would ever just stop playing football, because I love those guys so much and want to play with them and do my best I can on the field.
When you play with kind of a reckless abandon. Did it take a while to get that back and the confidence that you could still play that way?
I would definitely say it took a little bit. I actually, as much as the pandemic kind of sucked, I think that helped me out with those extra 10 or so months before we started having to kind of hit against, in that spring season against another opponent. So I definitely think that a little more time, that extra time helped a little bit.
Anything else?